Please welcome to the stage founder and CEO of Anterior, Dr. Abdel Mahmoud.
Hello, I'm Abdel, and I trained as a physician. And like many other physicians, I very quickly became disenchanted with bureaucracy and paperwork getting between us and doing care. So I actually retrained as an AI engineer. And I went on to work at organizations leading in AI like Google. And I was actually there when large language models showed their early promise. What I didn't see was those large technology companies being able to solve the problems that we have unique to our industry. So I founded, oops, haven't got the slides up, 1 second. So I founded Anterior. And the thing we wanted to do with Anterior that was different, which was bring the best clinicians I know, the best health plan leaders, and pair them with some of the best engineers to solve problems specific to the health insurance industry. And for us, it's been about, how can we take those concepts that we see in Silicon Valley of large language models and so on, and bring them into production, solving real-world use cases. And we've managed to figure that out. But the thing that makes me kind of most proud about what we've done or learned along the way of doing this is that we realized it was not about the AI. It wasn't about the technology. It was how you're able to adapt the technology, adapt your workforce to make the most of that technology. Now, start with a kind of an obvious question. What makes your business special? It is your people. The people that you hire, train, upskill, retain, that make decisions every single day that drive your business forward. And these people work in many different organizations, as our previous panelists had said, many siloed. But if you were to double-click on some of the most highly skilled, in short supply, clinicians that do utilization review across your organization, if you were to survey what proportion of their time was spent doing the work that only they can do, the answer, and it was done last year, was 4%. The other 95%, as I'm sure you're aware, is sitting on phone lines, reading faxes, typing the same information across 5 different systems. So the question really, with the promise of AI and all we hear about it is, why are some of your most skilled, highly trained people doing these kinds of work? And maybe, instead of doing the work, they should be able to supervise AI doing the bulk of that work, focusing on the 5% to drive the 95%. And what I want to show you is go from that as a theory to that in reality. What does that mean? What does that look like when we hear talks about agents and AI and so on? And I'm going to role play being a senior utilization management clinician in charge of an outpatient prior authorization review department in a national health plan. What does it look like in this new world where my nature of my work has changed, where I'm setting up agents and working with them collaboratively? And how do these agents look like when deployed, as we've had from our experience? So, the first thing that we'll do is show you how easy it is to be able to set up an agent. In this case, it's like setting up a new employee in your organization. I'll give them a role. So in this case, outpatient, excuse my typos, prior authorization. Oops. Now, the next thing that we want to do is define a goal. Just to keep it simple, just for this, the time that we have here today, I'm going to say reduce turnaround times and increase productivity. Just with even that, the AI is able to kind of understand the intent from that and be able to realize, wait, in this case and in this scenario, there are decisions that have to be made. Who gets to make those decisions? What are the scope and the boundaries of these agents, the same way that we have with our employees? In this case, it realizes that there is approvals, denials, and missing information as likely outcomes. In this case, I'm happy for the approvals to be done by an agent, but medical non-certification by a human. And in this case, for this purpose, missing information, I want to be able to handle that as well. Now, what knowledge can they have access to across the shared drives and folders that we have in our organization? Well, medical necessity guidelines. And I'll leave it at that for now, but there's other things that we can equip them with. Prior auth workflows, as many of you know, change from health plan to health plan. Some do, obviously, medical necessity review. Others have other things. In my department, we also assess for social determinants of health. So these are pre-configured tasks that I would like my agent to be able to handle. There are worlds where agents can work with other agents, but we'll keep it simple for now. Finally, where do they sit? Who do they report to? Where do they get to escalate? In this case, I sit on the California Utilization Management team, so I'll have that there. Now, it looks simple, but behind the scenes, the real work begins, where this system, from those natural language intents, can enable us to set up an onboarding document for this agent, pulling in the right data feeds, the right sources, and setting this up. But the crux of what I want to focus on now is what does it look like a few weeks on in my day-to-day job when I wake up in the morning as a clinician to review these? Oh, yeah, always say do demos live, and then they die on you. Oh, there we are. So here I have my collection of agents and the one I set up before. It's been there in the background, doing these medical necessity reviews, managing that 95% of drudgery and approving things, giving providers back decisions in minutes, but then flagging where it needs my input. Like in this one, there's some missing information that I need to review. If you open that, what you'll get to see is my agent has prepared for me a look into this case, what's been happening behind the scenes. And in the handoff, they give me the original fax documentation that would have come in. And yes, we still see loads of fax. I think we call it eFax now. And then in this case, brought the policy that they think is the most relevant from thousands of policies, a PDF of unstructured rules and regulations about when we can get a knee arthroscopy. And then the agent guides me through their thinking, very much like a clinician would, handing off to me. So in this case, they give me a summary. I haven't read the 600 pages in here, but how can I trust? Well, like we hand off as clinicians, Peggy Anderson is a 78-year-old female with reduced range of motion. Every factual statement it makes, how do I trust it and verify it? Well, citations. It links me to exactly where in the clinical information that was pulled from, allowing me to save time of scrolling there myself. These easy wins compound, allowing me to get the clinical gist of what's going on, to be able to review the work in seconds. Then, I'm not just trusting its decision here, it's guiding me through its thinking in a kind of a reasoning approach that's designed for clinical medicine and the clinical questions involved. Saying, does the patient have underlying knee osteoarthritis, and where it pulled its answers from? In the interest of time, I'll skip ahead to a bit more of a challenging question where my input is specifically needed. In step 5, is there documentation of unsuccessful conservative therapy? In this case, I want to focus on this point. We used to live in a world of algorithms with AI black boxes, approve, deny, but you couldn't query it. What was the middle ground in between? Healthcare is not black and white, it's gray. In this case, it says, I think there's a path to an approval, but there's some missing information. Here's what I found. I saw a physical therapy report. I saw a corticosteroid injection cited here. This is my favorite one, where it noticed the height and weight, calculated the BMI of its own accordance, realized the BMI was within normal range, and therefore, weight loss as a form of conservative therapy doesn't apply. And it concludes with, the path to an approval is probably physical therapy, but the provider failed to document whether it was supervised or not. And concludes here, this is the input that I need from the human, escalating to me as a senior clinician, saving me all that time. But what do I have to do now? Get on a phone and try to engage with that provider. But today, I don't have time. So I'll tell the agent to go call that provider, fetch the missing information, and see whether they can complete the case on their own. I'm going to roleplay being the provider, and I'm getting a call from the agent.
This is Florence from Green Shield. Who am I speaking to?
Hey, Florence, I'm one of the physicians here. How can I help you?
Hi there. Thanks for taking my call. I'm reaching out regarding a prior authorization request for one of your patients, Peggy Anderson. Do you have access to her?
Whoa, wait. Before you do that, let me interrupt you. Can you just confirm her date of birth for me, please?
Of course. Peggy's date of...
Go on.
Thank you. Peggy Anderson was born on January 15th, 1946. Now, just
perfect. All right, just in the interest of time, can you just tell me what questions you need to ask from me?
Absolutely. So we have some clinical information on file. Peggy is experiencing persistent right knee pain, has a history of osteoarthritis in that knee.
All right, thank you, Florence. It's a busy ward today, so I'll just tell you the information you need. I did the physical therapy myself. I'll fax over that information, and it's lasted over 8 weeks long.
Oh, wow. 8 weeks. That's quite the...
All right. She is quite chatty, and I promise I'm not usually that blunt and rude on phone calls. But the point is, It went out there, gathered some new world information, learned about the world, and came back and said, hey, remember last time in step 5, I didn't know what the answer was? Well, actually, I can pick up from where I left off and say, with the new information found, we can actually confirm that part of the guideline. And we've now cleared the path to an approval. And of course, we know AI can generate text. I'll get it to generate the approval letter and have that sent over to the provider. Now, you're getting a glimpse into that 5% now of work being automated for me in that regard. But all the other 95% of cases that have been done behind the scenes, if you were to open any one of those, you get a view into that reasoning and that detailed agreement. We're over the world of AI as just black boxes. So, I'll end on this. This is not demos, these are decisions that are happening today as we speak, because it was built for the health insurance industry. Accuracy, models maybe 60% before, now are surpassing accuracy in not just outpatients, but home health and inpatient, compliant with CMS. They can read an API or a fax. But the stat that I'm most proud of is that clinicians don't actually hate it. And that's a high bar for a lot of software. And I'll end with a prediction, which is, I believe in the next 12 months, you will hire your first clinician whose job is to supervise the output of this work, working at 100 times more productivity, delivering value for providers, members, and ultimately the plan as well. So please come over to our booth at Anterior and find out how we can take you to the future. Thank you very much.